Hi, and my name is Michelle Santiago, and I'm with Cruise Planners, and I am here with Kathy Brock, who has been with AMA Waterways for 15 years. She was the first representative ever hired back in 2006, and that was when their first ship was built. So she is the expert on AMA Waterways and why they are, in her mind and mine as well, the best river cruise out there. She currently covers the Southeast region of the United States. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Kathy. Welcome so much.
Thank you so much. These things are a little iffy, so I never take a breath until I have my screen up there with slideshow, current slide. Are we there?
We are. We can see it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I have to start with the fact that ama is actually the Latin derivation of the word love, amo, amas, amad. That's where we got our name. So that's why we are AMA Waterways. AMA means love. So I like to just do a quick intro here. My word for, well, this started in March. My word for March, my word for April, now my word for June is the word beyond. And that's where I think we need to have our heads. We need to think beyond this insanity. Where do we want to go? And who do we want to go with? That's so critical these days. If nothing is proof to us that this experience is how valuable friends and family are. So I want to inspire you to travel with those friends and family. I almost hate that we have the word cruise included in our name, because cruise brings to mind, yes, and it's the picture behind you, Michelle.
It's better than the other one that I had.
The big blue water ships that have 2,000 to 6,000 people, and they're out in international waters and they're crossing international borders. Well, that's not what river cruising is. In our case, our river cruise ships have a capacity of 156 people. We are not in international waters. We do not cross international borders. We include multiple excursions every single day. On the big ships, you're going to have to pay for those excursions on top of your regular cruise fee. We include premium beer, wine, and soft drinks with lunch and dinner, and champagne with breakfast. So there is no beverage package you need to purchase. We have a specialty restaurant on all of our ships called the Chef's Table, and it is a private chef preparing and plating a 7-course paired wine dinner, and there is no charge for dining at the Chef's Table. That would be a specialty fee on the big ships. And also, we include free Wi-Fi. We're wired for at least 4G. So if you need Wi-Fi, you don't have to buy an internet package. So I want to introduce you to the concept of river cruising in case you've never done it, because you need to. I have to start with the rivers because, and everybody knows there's a Rhine River. You've heard of the Rhine, you've heard of the Danube, and no, it's not blue. But this is what's given rise to river cruising. So if we start with the map here, what you have to understand is up here, this blue line at the top coming into the North Sea at Amsterdam, that's the Rhine River. But the Danube River's down here. And these rivers were never connected until 1992. This construction right here of the Main-Danube Canal, it's an engineering marvel. It's 106 miles long, changes elevation by over 1,300 feet. On transiting this, you could go into a lock and go up or down as much as 85 feet. It's amazing. It was built to connect the rivers. So with the Main-Danube Canal connection, you can now travel from the North Sea through 15 different countries all the way down to the Black Sea, because these are connected. The critical thing to understand here is that these rivers were the original highways of Europe. If you think back to the time of the Middle Ages, and if it had rained for 4 or 5 days, Was that wagon or that carriage going to be able to get from point A to point B? Not, likely not. So the river banks is where civilization grew up. Started with a little Celtic settlement. Settlement grew to a village. Village grew to a town, and towns grew into cities. That's why you have these fabulous cities and towns that line the riverbanks of the rivers of Europe. That's why when we pull into a city or town, we're typically able to dock in the town and walk off the ship and do walking tours or hiking tours or bicycle tours or culinary tours, because we offer all of those. I have to point out 3 rivers over in France because they're absolutely fantastic. The one that goes from Paris out to the Normandy beaches is the Seine or Seine, and it is a fabulous itinerary. We are adding a second one in that region next year. So we'll have 2 cruises on the Seine going to Normandy, and one of them even to that fabulous place called Mont Saint-Michel. The vertical line here is the Rhone River and the Saône River. These rivers go through that shabby area called Provence. We're talking Beaujolais and Châteauneuf-du-Pape and the flowers, the sunflower fields, the lavender fields, where so many of the Impressionists did their painting. Over here, this is a little area here. It's an estuary coming off the ocean. It's called Bordeaux. Bordeaux is very, very wine focused, but we have lots of other excursions. So if you're not totally a wino, you'll still enjoy it. And down here, we are in Portugal on a river called the Douro. The Douro is actually the oldest wine region in the world, and this is probably one of the most scenic rivers and areas we sail through. We also have 3 exotic locations, and I'll touch on those later on. This summarizes river cruising. I found this quote years ago. We have now all adopted it. It is true. Oceans are going to take you to countries, but only rivers are going to take you through them. You're not going to get to Vienna, Cologne, Heidelberg, Strasbourg, Budapest, any of those cities on a big ship. On a big ship, you're going to come in to the port on the edge of the country. You're going to get off the ship, do 4 or 5 hours tour, and then you're going back to the ship. Have you really experienced that destination, that country? So this is one of my favorite pictures because it's one of our river cruise ships in this magical little town on the Danube called Dürnstein. Dürnstein has this blue Baroque tower that you can see for a mile coming and going. Beautiful vineyards up behind here. No, they're not machine harvesting these vines. They're doing it by hand. And wonderful story up here. This is a castle ruin, and it's actually where Richard the Lionheart was held for ransom on his way to the Crusades. No, back from the Crusades. And we do have a hike up here. When I mentioned hiking tours, there's a wonderful walking path up here. When we do a hike or when we do a bicycle tour, we always send out 2 guides. So we have a guide at the front with the fast-paced person. We have a guide at the back with the slower-paced person, and they might even say, yeah, we got a ways to go yet. Does anybody want to go back to the ship? So that's one of the special things about AMA Waterways. A critical thing about this company, which you will not hear from other companies, is that this is a small family-owned company. As of July 1, we will be 18 years old, but we only have 19 ships. That's very restrained growth. Gentleman on the far left's name is Rudi Schreiner. Rudi is an architect. He's from Vienna, Austria. He actually designs our ships and designs our itineraries. He's known as the godfather of river cruising because he invents all these wonderful things. He invented something called the French balcony, which was the signature cabin design starting back in 1992. To his right is Christine Karst. Now, Christine has a wonderful story. She's from Dresden, Germany, And she told me a few years ago, she's now lived half her life in freedom and half her life behind the Iron Curtain. I call Christine the heart of AMA Waterways. She pretty much sets the pace for this company and why we are the river cruise company that is all family. When asked to describe her river cruise line a few years ago in one word, she just said one: home. We want our ships to be home for our guests. Over on the right there is Gary Murphy. Gary's dad, Jimmy Murphy, was one of the original formers of AMA. He has a wonderful story too. Jimmy was from Dublin, Ireland, came over on a ship from Dublin with $50 in his pocket and built a life for his family and his business. He and Gary owned Brendan Vacation for a number of years and then partnered with Rudy and Christine. So Gary, we lost Jimmy a few years ago, but Gary is now the third owner. 18 years old, but only 19 ships. Now that's slow growth. That's 1 or 2 ships a year. So we have a total of 19 ships. Those folks on television with those beautiful commercials actually have 75 ships. There's also another big difference there. These ships we started building back in 2006, but what happened, and those ships were 148 passengers. In 2010, the folks that regulate the lock system actually told Rudy he could build a longer ship. So he got 80 feet in length to add to our ships. So at that time, we went from 148 passengers all the way up to our big ships of 156 passengers, while other lines went from 148 passengers to 192 passengers with the ships the same size. That means the lounge is the same size. That means the dining room is the same size. You're simply putting 40 more people in the same space. And if nothing else, consider the noise level difference. Also, since these 3 families were basically immigrant families and understood when you bought something or you built something, you paid for it. So every one of these ships was paid for at the time of construction. So all of our ships are totally paid for. There is no debt on our ships. Now that's huge in this day and age. And I love the quote from Rudy there where he says, "There is no debt on any of our ships. I can sleep at night." We're going to have all kinds of special requirements. They're still under development because this is still a work in progress. We will have guest requirements. We will have crew and hotel staff requirements, all kinds of cleaning and the plexiglass shields at desks, and we'll probably even use the wait staff, and the cruise manager will probably use a face shield instead of those horrible masks where you can't see people's expressions or half the time understand them. We have never been a company that was big on buffets. We have always had served breakfast. We've always had served lunch. The only thing at lunch was a salad bar. We will see if that is done or it will become served salad. And dinners are 5-course dinners with your paired wines. So on a lot of fronts, we won't have huge changes to make, but we will change accordingly. I have to mention the Hero offer because we came out with this about a month ago, and it's our effort in our attitude of love and family to honor the heroes, the frontline heroes that have worked through this insanity. This is a complimentary cruise certificate for that hero. It's for medical heroes. That means doctors, nurses, pharmacists, lab technicians, EMTs. All of these people would be eligible for this. It basically boils down to 2 for 1. Because as long as the hero is there with the free cruise certificate and they're in with a paying passenger, they will get the free cruise. So it's absolutely amazing offer, and we are so proud to be able to offer this, and started it like at least 5 weeks ago, I think it was. So incredible. I have to look down on this little town of Dürnstein again, because there's that blue Baroque tower. And you know what's signature about these towns is they all have these wonderful red tile roofs. So you're going to pass these villages as you sail along this river. This is the Danube, of course. The village is going to have the red tile roofs, and you're going to see one white spire right in the middle of the village, which of course is the village church. And what might pass your mind as you sail along here is, gosh, these just look like fairy tale villages. Well, there are two guys by the name of the Grimm brothers. The Grimm brothers wrote Grimm's fairy tales. And the Grimm brothers lived, you got it, on the banks of the Danube. So they really just illustrated their stories with their hometowns. We have several different cabin categories. The entry-level cabin category is called a fixed window, and that means the window doesn't open, okay? The next category up is this signature invented by Rudy, called a free on the right. It is simply sliding glass doors. It opens completely out onto the river. It's not a step out balcony. You get the view, you get the atmosphere. It's all just right there to enjoy. But these ships now have what we call a twin balcony. It's our signature design, because we have not only the French balcony, but on the left, you're going to see a step out balcony. That balcony has to come into the cabin. It can't hang off the side of the ship. And that balcony has enough room for 2 chairs and a table to face the river, not each other. So to do that cabin design, Rudy had to take the ships from 148 passengers or 170 square feet up to 210 to 235 square feet. That's the amount of space it takes to do this. That's why we only added the 6 cabins. That's why we're only 156 passengers. You'll also notice on the right here an Apple TV. It's your internet, it's your cable TV, it's your first run Hollywood movies. It does have a keyboard under it because it's connected, and we're also wired for at least 4G for free Wi-Fi. Actually, we spent as much money last year on Wi-Fi as we did on fuel. So if you need to stay connected, it's fantastic. We now have 6 of our latest ships that have an interesting design in that they have connecting cabins. So if you're traveling multi-generation or with a senior parent, you want close access to them, a connecting cabin is delightful. These ships also have triple cabins. That is a single bed that falls out there. So this would be a 3rd person in the cabin. And these ships also have suites that will accommodate a family of 4. Over here behind the screen, you have the bedroom area, and here you have the queen size. We do have families on board. Not many, not often, usually at the vacation times, and of course the fabulous Christmas markets. It's an incredible family and multi-generation vacation, and it's so educational. Our dining is exceptional. We're a member of this gastronomic society called La Chaîne de Haute-Couture. It means all of our food has to be locally sourced. None of it can be frozen. And presentation really does look like this. We can accommodate any dietary need with the exception of kosher. So we can do vegetarian, vegan, we can do gluten. All of those can be accommodated on our ships. Now, I have a short video I'd like to show you. And one of the reasons I absolutely adore this video is you're going to get to meet Rudy and Christine. And I think you'll get a feel for the company with this experience. So introducing Rudy and Christine, hopefully. Here we go.
Why the name Ama?
Ama in Latin, amore, means love. For us, there was so much love that went into the creation of our company.
That's the whole reason for Ama Waterways.
Together, we had a dream to create the very best river cruise line that would be out there. Ships that we would enjoy ourselves. River cruising is something very intimate. It's an immersion into the culture. You see the country. We are docked mostly in the heart of the city.
The destination is still the countries you visit, not so much the ship. The river cruise really gives you double the leisure time. The ship is a means of luxury transportation from destination to destination.
The Ama Magna was Rudy's dream. We have created the most unique floating boutique hotel on the Danube River, I would say on all the rivers.
This ship is double as wide as most of the other ships on the rivers. It has 4 restaurants. It has large staterooms. It has a fantastic wellness area.
We even have spinning bikes with the most magical view to the river.
We also have a nice massage room. We have a hairdresser on board.
We offer some classes, stretching, core, and then we go out on our tours. They are all included. Or maybe you want to just jump into our beautiful swimming pool. I see more and more guests just sitting there, enjoying a glass of wine while the ship is cruising, enjoying the scenery until we arrive in our next port. You open a storybook and every day you fill a blank page with an adventure. At Ama, we are very proud of our people. Our crew is part of our family. They are so genuine. They anticipate the needs of our guests. We are so fortunate to be surrounded by crew members and our cruise managers with the right attitude, with the right heart, with the sparkle, and with the genuine smile. We look forward to welcoming you to our Ama Waterways family.
And we'll see you on the Danube. Cheers.
I don't care how many times I see that video. I love it. So I have to divert just a minute to introduce this ship that they talked about. It's called the Ama Magna. And basically, they just made a liar out of me for everything I just said, because instead of being the normal 38 feet wide, the Ama Magna is 72 feet wide. Now, I know you can't get a mental image of what's the difference between 38 and 72. Well, this might clarify. This is the Ama Magna next to a Viking longship. And the critical point here is both of these ships carry the same number of passengers. This ship can sail from the bottom of that Main-Danube Canal, which is north of Vienna, all the way down into Romania to Bucharest. So she's got an itinerary that does Prague to Budapest, which is my favorite. And then she also has an itinerary that goes from Budapest down to Bucharest through 5 different countries on the lower Danube. Quick run through of the Magna. It has the 4 restaurants, as Rudy mentioned. She has the alfresco restaurant with windows all the way around. She has Jimmy's, named for Jimmy Murphy. It's sort of like an Irish pub type atmosphere. Delightful. We have the chef's table. Now, every one of our ships has the chef's table. On all of the other ships, the chef's table has a glassed-in kitchen where the chef is preparing and plating the 7-course paired wine dinner. However, on the Magna, Rudy made it an open kitchen, so the chef is really part of the show, which is delightful. So this means all of our ships have at least 2 restaurants, okay? They all have the main dining room. They all have the chef's table restaurant, okay? What's different, and you'll see these pictures throughout the whole thing, is our description of our decor, which we call country club casual. Country club casual is how we dress as well as the decor on the ship. What's unique about our dining rooms is we have tables for 2, tables for 4. We have 5 tops. Now, why do we have 5 tops? For solo travelers. And we have 6 and 8. Now, I point that out because the majority of the river cruise lines, every table in their dining room is for 6 people. So I'm just dandy with 6 for dinner, but I'm not so sure about 6 for breakfast. And here you have options. Rudy didn't pack things into this ship. Rudy gave space, lots and lots of space. That hallway is the widest hallway I've ever seen on any ship in the world. We have a beautiful main lounge, just like we do on every ship. This dance floor is a lot bigger than the other ships. We also, on this ship, have 2 other lounges, nice little areas with a fireplace, cozy little nooks, library there. You can settle in with a book or your iPad and watch the river drift by, or you can just snooze off. Okay, he had a little extra room. What did Rudy do with a little extra room? He put in a cinema. And it does have a couple PlayStations. So if we got any kids on board, they get a place to hang out. But my favorite time in the cinema is the night after we offer you the trip to Salzburg, Austria, included, of course. We have a half-day trip to Salzburg, or if you're going to Salzburg, take the full day. It's a fabulous city. Home, of course, of Sound of Music. So after dinner, you'll probably find us screening the movie in the cinema. So you bring your glass in with you of wine or beverage, and we might even have some popcorn for you. All of our ships have the fitness center, the beauty salon, and the massage center. Everything's just bigger on the Magna. And she also has a juice bar, strangely enough, positioned right outside the doors to the massage center. Yeah, I could almost be tempted, but I'd probably break something. But it's a pretty cool way to go spinning with the view of the river, but you are going backwards. All of our ships have a pool or a jacuzzi on the top deck. They're all heated, so they're all sailing season long. This one is a combination jacuzzi and pool, so you don't get a perspective because the photo was taken from the jacuzzi side. That's one of the 5 bars on the ship. This one is a pop-up bar. And what you have to understand about a river cruise ship is nothing can be on the top deck that doesn't lower. So even the wheelhouse on a river cruise ship lowers in the case of low bridges. Well, this is the first elevator to ever be able to go to the sun deck. Typically, you come out of the main deck, you climb the stairs to the sun deck. Rudy invented an elevator that rises up. You would step out of the elevator, and then the elevator lowers back down. Very, very unique. Extremely spacious cabins. The average cabin size on this ship is 355 square feet. So if you like big cabins, you want to come on the Magna. The bathroom has floating vanities, walk-in showers, and a separate water closet. Your seating area here in the foreground has seating and, of course, that Apple TV. In the bedroom area, you have another huge television mounted on the wall here. You have a beautiful step-out balcony here as well. All of our ships have bicycles on board, except in Portugal. Portugal's a different terrain. So typically we have 25 bicycles on board, beautifully maintained $650 touring bikes. We have the helmets. The crew adjusts them to people's sizes. Magna has 50, but we'll have several bicycle tours that you can join in. Some of them nice and short and flat, others going from one port to the next where you actually pass the ship. The wines are exceptional. The wines are premium wines. These are not house wines or box wines. We are serving a different red wine and white wine every single day. They're free flowing at lunch and dinner, which means you take 2 sips and they fill it up. And the unwritten rule is take that glass of wine upstairs with you when you leave the dinner table. That's what we mean by free flowing. We just want you to be careful on the stairs. I have to touch on the Christmas markets because this is my love. This was my very first sailing on New Year's Eve 2005 with Rudy and Christine. It was my interview. All the Christmas markets weren't open because it was after Christmas Eve, but many of them were, and I just absolutely fell in love. Christmas markets go back 700 to 900 years. Every city, town, and village in these countries has Christmas markets. This is a local thing. This is when the locals come out every evening with the family, with the baby buggy. They stand around in front of these fabulous market stalls, and they're sipping the hot mulled wine or the hot cider or the hot chocolate. It's a fabulous time of year. You don't have to travel over Christmas. The Christmas markets open based on Advent, the 24th or 25th of November typically, but this is, excuse me, Vienna, and actually last year Vienna opened on the 15th of November and Budapest a few days before that. So it's a wonderful time to travel, get all your Christmas shopping done, and oh, what a family vacation. 2 quick pictures of Prague because it's my favorite city in the entire world. Their tree in the Old Town Square here is monstrous. It's lighted and the music is synchronized with the lights. Absolutely fantastic. Your market stalls are all around here with the street food and the handcrafted items that you can take home. And you ever wonder where Walt Disney got his inspiration? You might want to look at the architecture of some of these buildings. You know, Cinderella's castle is a real castle in Germany, and Rapunzel's castle is a real castle in France. There's Salzburg. I told you that's a fabulous city. This entire market is right at the front door of the cathedral. Very, very special. We decorate the inside and the outside of the ships. We do a tree trimming contest for our guests. My favorite day on the Christmas market cruise is St. Nicholas Feast, when we invite everyone to put one shoe out in the hallway. And the next morning you see what St. Nicholas has brought, either a sweet goodie or maybe a bad goodie, and I won't tell you which one I got last year. The Glühwein is the signature drink at this time of year in these countries. It's a hot mulled wine with spices like cloves and cinnamon and oranges, and each market has their own. They also have souvenir mugs, each designed differently. So take a couple of these home, and then for years thereafter, you're going to pull out that mug for the hot chocolate for the grandkids or whatever, and you're going to remember exactly where it came from. Now we have 3 exotic locations. I'm just going to touch on these. One of them is a fabulous Africa itinerary on a small ship of only 14 cabins, so that's 28 people. She does a 4-night cruise on the Chobe River, which is between Zimbabwe and Botswana. And then she goes for 2 nights at Victoria Falls. And we add that to either an itinerary in South Africa or East Africa. The Southeast Asia itinerary, which is Cambodia and Vietnam, was the most astounding, powerful, and absolutely life-changing trip of my entire life. I adored this adventure. The people, the Buddhist culture, it's so different. It's so generous and welcoming and cheerful. I wouldn't trade this experience for the world. And introducing in September of 2021, a new itinerary We are going back to the Nile. We were there through 2007, but then they had the problems and we left there, and now we're going back. Nile, of course, is the longest river in the world, 43 miles long. But when you're going to cruise the Nile, you don't just pop in and do the 7-night cruise on the Nile. And oh, by the way, AMA always offers pre and post options. For instance, that Danube cruise, please, if you book the Danube, add the 3 nights in Prague. It is the most fabulous city in the world, I think, but you will adore that city. What's different that AMA does is our cruise managers don't just stay on the ship. Our cruise managers go on the whole itinerary. So like the year I did the Danube solo, which I've done a number of times, started out with 3 nights stay in Prague. I didn't know a soul. I mean, it was just me. But the cruise manager had a desk in the lobby of the hotel, had a meet and greet the first night with a little champagne toast, described what we were doing over the 3 days in Prague, escorted us on the tours in Prague, rode the motor coach with us to the ship, and was on the 7-night cruise as well. So all that's included with AMA Waterways. So the Nile, like I say, you don't just pop in and do the 7-night cruise. You're going to have to bookend it with Cairo. And in our instance, we are starting with 3 nights in Cairo at none other than the Four Seasons Hotel. Then we will fly down and board the ship for the 7-night cruise. It will do everything. It will do Aswan. It will do Luxor. It will do Queen Nefertari's tomb. It will do the temples. It will do the tombs. And you know, they're on different sides of the river. But anyway, and then we go back for one final night in Cairo, back to the Four Seasons Hotel. We do some very exclusive things for just our guests. For instance, that night, the day we're back in Cairo, everybody takes a tour of the presidential palace, but AMA's going to take you for lunch at the presidential palace. So to do this itinerary, Rudy has designed a brand new ship, which is under construction right now. She's going to be called the Amadalia, named for a flower, and have 34 cabins. So that means her capacity is 68. And oh, by the way, there'll be 62 crew members on board. So every river cruise needs to be booked well in advance to get the space you want, but definitely true on such as the Amadalia with only the 34 cabins. She's going to be absolutely gorgeous. The pool on the sun deck, the shaded areas for viewing, sitting back there watching everything float by on the Nile. Our version of Country Club Casual will be this is what the lobby is going to look like, and this is what the lounge is going to look like. So absolutely an amazing experience. Currently, the first sailing is scheduled for September of 2021. It is so heavily booked right now. They are discussing possibly adding a sailing before that one in August, because that's what attention this is drawing, because it's absolutely amazing. Again, we don't do just the 7-night cruise. We offer you pre and post. In this case, one of our options is a 3-night stay in Dubai or a 4-night stay in Jordan. And that would include Amman and the ruins of Petra. Absolutely fantastic option. My favorite is the post-cruise option. The post-cruise option takes you for 4 nights to stay in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in Jerusalem. So you will do Masada, you will do the Dead Sea, you will do all the sites in and around Jerusalem. So absolutely fantastic. I have one other thing I need to highlight with you, and that is if you watch this seminar, Virtual Cruise Night, you will be eligible for a $100 per person discount on bookings that you deposit within 2 weeks of when you view this. Okay? Now, we don't require full payment. What AMA requires for a deposit on a cruise is $400 per person. And then there's nothing else due until 90 days from the sailing. So if you were booking this year's Christmas markets, you would not have final payment till like September. If you were booking next year's Christmas markets, you would not have to pay until 90 days out. That is next September. So very, very generous offer from AMA. There are river cruise lines out there that require full payment within 30 days of deposit, and we don't do that. 3 quotes I always wrap up with. The first one is attributed to Buddha, and I so loved that Southeast Asia experience. I would have stolen the quote no matter who said it, but the fact that it's attributed to Buddha to me means more. Buddha speaks to all of us when he says, the trouble is, you think you have time. You're always going to feel this good. You're always going to be able to travel with your kids, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, your friends. How many of us know somebody who thought they had time and they didn't? So you can always make more money. You can't always make more memories. And nothing makes memories better than travel.
Kathy, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I think you've frozen on us. So I'm going to take over. Maybe Kathy's signal will come back up. That was awesome. And that is so true. I've said that my entire career as a travel agent. Do it now. Travel is about experiences. You know, you can replace the money. If your life is shortened or someone else you love is shortened, you don't get that time back. So hopefully Kathy will come back with us. But in this case, I'm going to take over. And I just wanted to share a few things about what cruise planners can offer with AMA Waterways, or AMA. So first of all, cruise planners on 7-night select sailings, we offer prepaid gratuities. And we are associated with American Express. So if you have an American Express card, the green card members receive $100 onboard credit. The Centurion Platinum members receive $300 onboard credit, plus up to $100 voucher for the spa and an extra membership point towards your American Express qualified bookings. So, and we've got group sailings with big discounts, both cruise planners and American Express ones. So there's a lot of different great ways to get great value out of this trip. As Kathy mentioned, there was a lot of great value in what AMA already offers compared to other cruise lines, or river cruise lines, I should say. There's more space, there's more passenger to crew ratios, so you get better service. People aren't on top of you. Drinks are included, Wi-Fi is included. This is a great opportunity, and I do appreciate everybody watching. And if you need me, when I post this, I'm going to post my website below.